to Real Estate Talk. My name is Neil Peterson, and with me today is Darren Francis. He's a celebrated property investor, winner of Investor of the Year 2022, the author of the book Failing to My Success, A Guide to Making Millions in Property. And we're here to discuss what makes Darren Francis a beacon of resilience and success in property investing, and how he emerged from the challenging environment of the Cape Flats to become a celebrated investor and author. And his journey began with a pivotal investment at 27, sparked by the book that ignited his passion for property. And despite facing setbacks and financial ignorance, he persisted and he leveraged calculated risks and built a robust network. And his local investments not only yielded financial gains, but also fostered community development as well. And through his book, Failing to My Success, there's some invaluable lessons there on resilience and education, strategic risk-taking, inspiration and guidance to investors worldwide. So welcome, Darren. It's wonderful having you here on the show.
Thank you so much. That profile you just said, it's pretty awesome. And thank you so much.
An absolute pleasure. So Darren, just tell us a little bit about your journey from, where it started from the Cape Flats to becoming a successful property investor today. I think it's really inspiring. And maybe just share with us what that initially sparked your interest in property investment as well.
Yes. So I grew up on the Cape Flats. I was born in Bishop Level, and family then moved to Mitchells Plain, Tafelsig. And I deal quite a lot about Tafelsig, especially the Cape Flats. The Cape Flats, as you know, you see it in the news every day. You hear about people being killed, being robbed, people on drugs, etc. And this was basically a norm in our communities, and especially where we grew up. The type of role models you see is often the drug merchants, and those people who's a bit on the dodgy side. And you have these characters that are your role model. Growing up, we didn't have wealth. We didn't have much money. In fact, in my book, I talk about my father, who was a taxi driver, and his business failed. He drove his taxi till the wheels fell off, literally. And the Cape Flats was very tough and very traumatic. I've experienced, people being shot, you standing over dead bodies, speaking to people. 30 seconds later, they no longer hear gunshot ring out, and it's quite traumatic. And growing up, my life was it was very good, but very filled with a lot of trauma. But I always knew deep down, as a youngster, that there's something different to all of this. There's something bigger than the Cape Flats. Beyond the borders of the Cape Flats, there's something much more beautiful, and we always joke of how we want to be millionaires one day, how we would drive fancy cars and live in a house, and those were dreams that many take for granted. But as a young boy, those were our aspirations. And as I grew up on the Cape Flats, and growing, in stature and in mind, I discovered that it was very good. It was very good, the lessons that we have learned. And yeah, I think for me, writing this book was just one of those elements where I have to tell people, that there's something better out there.
Okay. Well, it's so important in your book that you highlight the importance of resilience and viewing failure as a stepping stone to success.
Yeah.
So, can you elaborate just on your early experience, particularly in Leon Bailey's karate class, and
Yeah.
how that shaped your mindset towards failure and perseverance, and how that sparked your interest in property investment, and what sparked it?
Yes. So that was a very eventful time in my life. Certain things happened to me as a youngster in Bishop Levers and in Tafel, where I almost lost my life on two occasions because of gangsterism and crime. And I was always a shy boy, but that was the trauma. I was sorry. I was locked up in the prison, in my mind, my own little prison, and a lot of us are, are, are stuck in the prison. And growing up, not knowing where to go, the forces of gangsterism is pulling me, and people telling me, you're not good enough. You will amount to nothing. Your educators, standing on top of you and telling you that you are a failure and you will amount to nothing. These were the kind of words that rang out quite frequently, and you become accustomed to it, and you kind of hide that shame, and that label, that tag would be seen by your peers because teachers are telling you that you are a failure, you know, and here comes um, a Leon Bailey, and a friend of mine, Clinton Adams, he I went to a youth gathering. My mom, being a staunch Christian woman, forced me to go to this youth event. And here I find Clint Adams and a few of his friends who were doing a karate demonstration, and I was mesmerized by this. And they invited me to this club, and that is where I met Leon Bailey. Sure. I apologize if I'm going to be emotional because
No, please. No.
that's, yeah. But then I met Leon. My life,
It changed.
my life changed completely.
It's wonderful.
I was a young boy being made fun of, being told I'm not good enough, being told can't do anything, and believing that. Um, and here comes Leon, um, a 16-year-old boy, 97 kilograms, overweight, can't do anything. Well, that's what I thought. And Leon walked into that martial arts room, a room filled with kids uh, my age, and we all trying to imitate what's being taught. And Leon somehow, he was drawn to me, and he picked me out of the crowd, and he he worked he worked me. He was on my case every time. And he walked about a 4 kilometer distance with the dog every Tuesday and Thursday. I'm not sure why he came to that particular club, but he came to our club and he worked with me. And to a point where we had to do, I'll never forget this day. He told us we'll have to do handstands. Mind you, 97 kgs. I've never done a cartwheel in my life. And and Leon Bailey is instructing us to do a handstand. And I'm telling you, I can't. And he tells me these words. He tells me, Darren, kan nie is dood. Don't ever tell me you can't. And he said, even if it's for 1 second,
Mm.
I will show you can. And he instructed the other guys to help me, and they kept my legs up, and obviously I didn't I didn't make it. I fell on top of my head. But he said, you just did 1 second, and on Thursday we're gonna try again until you get this right. Few months later, here I am doing 10 handstand push-ups. I'm much lighter, stronger, and something he did before my first grading from white belt. He a black belt, first degree black belt came to our club, and this guy was super fit. And he told us, and he instructed the Ashley's name, Sensei Ashley, instructed Sensei Ashley to fight with him, spar with him. He told him, you do anything you want with him, you beat him. Um, and the club was shocked. I was shocked. And Leon came to me and he said, today I will show you why I was hard.
Wow. Sure, pivotal
And then,
moment, isn't it?
yeah. And
Yeah.
that day I gave as a white belt, I stood strong against a first dan black belt. And even the black belt was amazed that I was a white belt. And that's when I broke free of my prison,
Wonderful.
and I knew I could do anything.
That's wonderful. So, Darren, networking and mentorship, they also played a significant role in your success. How did you go about building your network, and what advice would you give to aspiring investors seeking mentorship?
So networking is crucial. It is very, very crucial. I would put it number two, just just above, or just below education being number one. But for me, networking, the success that I achieved um, was solely through networking, knowing the right people, who to contact and who to use for certain things. When I read that first book by Jason Lee, and I wish we'll meet him one day.
I can
Um,
arrange that.
that'll be a dream come true. Um, and I knew I needed to have a team with me that will be able to do um, whatever it is that I would need them to do. And my first property that I got involved in, the reason for that success was due to my network. My network that I had at the time, I had a very good electrician, plumbers, and builders. And from there, I got attorneys on board, and it's crucial to have that network. Very.
And how did you go about getting them?
So on the Cape Flats, mhm, you know, a lot of people in your family, are either artisans, they know something about building. I was fortunate enough to have two uncles who were master builders. Um, they're no longer alive, and I saw how they were building and what they would do. I could never work with him because I was too big. Um, but based on what I saw and the people they were in contact with, I knew this was something that I wanted to. I always knew I wanted them to work for me. Um, but I went out and I got my own guys. I got my own team um, together to do this, and that was literally speaking to the people in my community because I knew exactly in my community who. So it plays a focus role.
Wonderful. So the concept of taking calculated risk is also emphasized in your book. Can you
Yeah.
share some of the most significant risks you took in your journey and how did it actually pay off?
Yeah. I think the calculated risk is a very big, it's
Mm.
fundamental to any property strategy, because you need to know what your risk to reward ratio is going to be. And before I venture out, I always look at, I would have a benchmark of what my risk to reward ratio would be. And that would normally inform what if I'm going to be successful or not. So my latest or my last project was a development that I did. We spent quite a lot of money. No, yeah, quite a lot of money on this particular development. My first development, but based on the numbers that I've crunched for the last 2 years, because it literally took me, constantly looking at the market and researching. I knew I was on the money. I always have two options of where I want to go, and we chose the first option, and it worked out quite well. It worked out very well. We were on budget, and yeah, it was good. Training was stressful, oh, but it was good, and the dividends are still going to pay off in the long run. Because the way I look at things, I always need to have a plan A, plan B, and plan C. Should things go wrong, so I always look at that. But with this particular development, we just yesterday we got um, stars. Stars came to the party for us, so stars was good to us.
Good.
And that was the first of many things that we foresaw that was going to happen. So yeah, risk to reward, very
Wonderful.
crucial.
So investing locally in Cape Town, in particular the Cape Flat, seems to be obviously a key strategy for you. So, how do you balance local investments with broader market trends, especially during times of economic uncertainty? Maybe just elaborate on your strategy, why you chose
Yeah,
that, or why you started with that. And if we look at like, COVID-19 threw everybody out, for example. But maybe just tell us why, and that is a key strategy for you and why.
yeah, yeah. So for me, part of the market analysis that we did a few years ago, we well, I knew that um, the market in on the Cape Flat is changing based on um, economic situation that was happening. We've seen the likes of the Atlantic seaboards, etc. It's flourishing and it's growing. But a lot of people neglected to see what's happening on the outskirts. And for me, I always knew I won't be able to, as a beginner, I won't be able to get into that particular market, and that's why I narrowed my focus to look at my where I grew up, the Cape Flat. I knew that particular area, and what we saw was we saw it at the right time. We saw it at the very right time. When I got involved in the first property, um, property prices were very. If I can make this example, so my brother bought a property in 2009. In 2001, round about there, he paid 120,000 rand for that property. I then bought a property in 2009 for 340,000 rand, 8 year difference, and that intrigued me quite a lot because it's basically the same area that we bought in, but the growth over 8 year span was more than 100%. In fact, more than 200%. And that for me was a wake up to say that, here's a specific trend developing here. And when we got into our first property, um, I knew the market was changing because we were looking at we had this market analysis, and we saw the prices were busy creeping up. Um, when we bought the property, at the time, properties were selling for 200, 250 in that particular area. When we sold, when we got in, and when we sold, that same property or the area that sold for 475,000 rand. The property that I bought in 2009, 2010, that property was then valued at about 450 to 500,000 during the same time. Now that same property that I bought it for 340,000 is now valued at about 1,050,000, 1.1. You know, so if you look at the growth aspect is phenomenal.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. No, wonderful. I think you've explained that very nicely. Also, the education and continuous learning are recurring themes in your book. I think you put education at number one, you said earlier on. So
yes,
maybe what are some of the practical steps individuals can take to educate themselves about property investment, especially if they're just starting out?
yeah. Like I said, it's key. It's the fundamental of any strategy. You need to look at one where you want to buy, and educate yourself on that particular market. Looking at reasons why people are buying there, what's motivating them to stay there. And what's happening in terms of crime, the needs, the needs and wants. And those are the kind of things that we look at. And I would encourage first-time investors to look at. It's pointless buying a property and wanting to make some money over a 3-year period or make money in 3 years. It's very pointless, but it comes down to the risk to reward analysis. And your risk to reward analysis needs to be informed by your why. Your why is very, very, very important. And in my book, I deal about that. So the book is very it will help someone in those kind of areas. So yeah.
Wonderful. Now, it also discusses in that book of yours the impact of fear on financial success. How can individuals overcome fear and build the confidence needed to enter the property investment market? Now, you obviously gave us back where it started for you, but maybe you can talk about some more practical examples there.
Yeah, look, fear is always going to be the one factor that keeps a lot of people behind. This might sound funny to many, but my daughters were watching a program, and it's called Bob the Train. And Bob the Train says, "Don't let the fear of the unknown keep you behind." And that for me was a wow moment. And in our communities, because we don't know the principles of money and how to use or what money can do, and how to use that money. It is very important that you look at that aspects, before getting into a deal, that you mustn't be afraid. If your education or your strategy is backed by education, then and you've crunched your numbers, you shouldn't be afraid. I always say, look before you leap. You have to look before you leap. And in my book, I think the last project that we did, we spent a lot of money, a, a lot of money, and building something on an open piece of field. Um, there's a lot of fear, because a lot of things can go wrong. But the question I always ask, what if everything goes right?
Exactly. I
You know,
like that one.
you know. So for me, it's always weighing the two. If you're going to fear, you're always going to be kept behind, because fear is an emotion, and that emotion is not logical. And for me, I need to make logical decisions that's going to impact my financial well-being.
I think that's some excellent advice there. So, community development is also an integral part of your investment strategy. Could you share some examples of how your investments have positively impacted your local community?
Yes, I think for me it was crucial when I began. I read part of the research that I did. I stumbled upon someone was doing something in Brazil, and it was called buying up the wood. And for me, that also informed part of my strategy. But Neil, I have to share this with you. The one day when I made 375,000 rand, it was a big wow. It was it's like I'm walking down the road. My mom sent me to the shop. I'm a big married man, but I was visited on the day, and I'm walking to the shop, and I'm coming back. And I'm looking at all these people. It's like I just made 375,000. What am I going to do? And it clicked that what I'm doing is bigger than me. And with this money, I'd be able to put lots of these people that's sitting on the corners. I can give them employment, and that's exactly what we have done. And since then, and till about now, we've employed close to 150 people from our community. And just last year, the year before, I was able to give someone that was with me in COVID, doing helping me with the flip. I made him a 50% shareholder of a business, and I gave the business to him. And for me, it's important to give back. So that people can fish for themselves. Um, you know, to change the mindset and to bring them alongside me, and so that they can see what I'm doing. So for me, it goes beyond more than just investing in property. People need to eat. In COVID, most of these guys that were working for me, they were all at home because they were working in the event industry, and for the entire what's the lockdown, but COVID period, they were working. I was giving them jobs, and just during lockdown, we employed about 42 people, 52 families uh, were fed.
Wow,
So yeah,
wonderful. I think it's a wonderful story. Setting goals is also highlighted as a vital aspect of your success. So, how do you recommend individuals set achievable goals in the realm of property investment? And what role do goals play in your own strategy?
yeah. I have to put this out in one. Never chase money. Never let money be your motivating factor. But for me, when I set my goals, it needs to be. I use the SMART principles, and it needs to be specific, measurable, tangible, and attainable, and realistic. Those are the, the, the elements that I use. Um, I set short-term, medium, and long-term goals, and we work towards that. My long-term goals, my short-term, and my medium-term goals feed into my long-term goals. And property investment, what I've learned over the years it's a stepping stone. It's going to get you to where you want to be one day. Um, you know, building a property portfolio, it might be an oxymoron, but it's literally like you're building a building. Um, start with foundation. Foundation is based on education. Once you have that right, the interior, etc., etc. So
Nice
yeah.
analogy. I like the way you put it. So, lastly,
Okay.
Darren, just what advice would you give to someone who's inspired by your story and wants to embark on their own journey in property investment? I mean, you were inspired by somebody as well.
Yeah.
And so, what are the key principles they should keep in mind?
For me, number one is key. Is education. Link up with someone. If fear is really, a big factor in your life, um, get a mentor. You know, try and speak to someone that that is doing what you want to do. Read books. My life was changed, when I read Jason Lee's, when I read his book, and for me, that just went like, wow, this is the world that I want to be in. Um, Two is make sure you get your financial situation under control. Um, you know, buying fancy clothes, buying expensive tackies, not really needed. That's nice, but if you want to get involved in property and build generational wealth, you need to look at your finances. And three, for me, it's building those networks. Finding out where you want to buy or where you want to invest in, and then building that network. Because the network is going to last you for a lifetime once you find the correct people. And it's going to take you a few years, a few mistakes, a few builders to go through to find the right team. But um, continue, and for me, the biggest one of them all, never give up. Um, Never give up. Even if things go array, and you feel you're still in control, don't give up. Keep on pushing. Go back to step one, your education, and make sure you find out, you fix your mistake, and you move forward.
Darren, it's been absolutely wonderful chatting to you. I think it's been such a inspiration, and I'm sure there's a lot of people inspired by what you said. For those who don't know, this is Darren Francis, celebrated property investor, winner of Investor of the Year 2022, author of the book Failing to My Success. You've got to buy it. It's called A Guide to Making Millions in Property. If that doesn't attract you, then what will? So thank you very much, Darren. I'm sure people are going to buy your book. We will obviously offer that link where you get that opportunity. But once
Thank
again,
you.
great chatting to you. And
Thank
certainly, I'm going to arrange for you to meet Jason Lee, and we're gonna
Please.
we're gonna meet him together. But
Perfect. Perfect.
wonderful
Perfect.
chatting to you, and thanks very
Thank
much.
you. Thank you, man. There
Great. No, thanks. Awesome, man. Well done. That was
you
really from the heart. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. It was right
go.
there. It came from there, man.
Yeah. I promised myself, there's two things, because I'm not going to, but when I speak about my dad and what Leon Bailey did, um,
Yeah.
hopefully you're going to be at book launch. You will meet him. Um,
Okay,
yeah,
wonderful. Fantastic. When is it? When is the date?
the 27th, the 27th
20,
of June.
27th. Okay, you will let me know once you got all
Yeah,
the details.
I'm, yeah, I'm going to send you, I'm sending out the invites, to Daystar.
Wonderful.
To
Okay, fantastic. Okay, thank you very
yeah,
much. I appreciate that. I'll look forward to that.
cool.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
No, great, Darren. Thanks very much. It was great chatting to you. We will see you again. Well, we'll definitely see you at your book launch. In fact, I'm going to get in touch now with Jason, and I'm going to we'll set up a three-way call as well. Okay. All right.
Wow. That's,
He's a good guy.
thanks so much.
Cheers, Dave. All the
Cheers,
best
man.
there, Darren. Cheers, bye.